indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening and thank you. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast over the Lunenburg Public Access Channel. The town manager tried to sneak a vacation away over the weekend and got stuck out of town. She's waiting for a flight back to Logan and won't be with us this evening. Before we introduce some of our guests, is there any public comment from the board?
I wanted to make sure everyone knew that burning permits are now available. I've already got mine. You may either visit the fire department or go online through the fire department webpage to obtain a permit to burn from the 15th of January till May 1st. It's safest to burn when there's snow on the ground. So get your piles ready and start burning. And April is actually the most dangerous month to burn. So burn early, burn often. Thank you.
Anything else?
Nope.
Any public comment from the public? Okay. We have some guests with us this evening from the state delegation. We have our state senator, Dean Tran, and our state representatives, Jennifer Benson and Stephen Hay. And they're here to present us with some money, so we're very happy that they're here. I'd like to call them to the podium. Also, we have the school committee with us, and when we're done with the presentation, we'll all come up and get some pictures taken. All right?
Mr. Chairman, member of the Board of Select, just want to say thank you very much for having Representative Benson, Representative Hay, and myself here to join you tonight. We have something very special that we would like to present to the board and the town of Lunenburg. As you know, several months ago, I was made aware that the town of Lunenburg needed some funds to fix an issue at the Turkey Hill Elementary School, and that is to remove some asbestos from the school. As you know, I have 2 young children, and no child should be learning in an unsafe and unhealthy environment. So from there on, my office and I made it a priority to get this amendment through the legislature. We were very successful in getting it through the Senate, and I'm very grateful to have 2 exceptional representatives, Representative Benson, Representative Hay, to get the amendment through the House. And I should also thank the governor and lieutenant governor for signing off the earmark. And with that being said, my colleagues and I here, before we present you with a check of $130,000, my colleagues have some other words to say.
Thank you.
For that kind of dough, you can talk as long as you want.
Oh, really? Do you charge by the minute? Well, first of all, I have to really thank Senator Tran for taking the lead on this. He did so much work. His office did so much work in outreach, really trying to turn over every leaf. And we were very excited to back him up and be sort of his backup singers on this and make sure that it not only made it through the House, but stayed in the final product, which is all of our jobs. So, yeah, it's very exciting. I was just talking to my colleagues from the school committee. Being a former school committee member, I know how hard it is to find capital dollars in order to do this work. And so, you know, whatever little bit we can do to help, that's our job. So thank you, and congrats.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Real simple, one more example of partnership. The Senate and the House working together in our community. So thank you, Senator Tran. Congratulations to the
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I should add, they are wonderful backup singers because I can't sing.
And I can sing, but I won't dance.
Well, I'd like to invite the delegation up on the stage. I'd like to invite the school committee up on the stage, get some publicity out of this, and why don't we kind of go around front? Get all of us?
This is Lunenburg. Why?
It won't fit in the ATM.
You want to take the check? We'll put it in school.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring it to school.
Yeah. Again, we want to thank the delegation for working together and helping us with our capital needs. Okay, our 7:05 is a public hearing on dangerous dog. I'd like to kind of go through the dog hearing procedures. This is an official hearing. Everyone testifying must be sworn in. The order of the proceedings will be that we will swear in the complainant. The complainant presents his or her testimony. We'll swear in the owner, who will present his or her testimony. Any witnesses will testify. The board will ask questions. Then we can deliberate. We'll make a finding and then determine our options. So I'd like all those who are part of this hearing to step forward. Is the complainant, Mr. Richard Septon, here? No? Okay. We do have the animal. Oh, okay, fine. Come on up, please. And I believe that the Sergeant Tachi and the Animal Control Officer, Kathy Cuomo, are also part of this. Come on up. I ask you to raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly and sincerely affirm, under the penalties of perjury, that your testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
I do. Okay. Whoever wants to start, would you?
I don't know if there's anyone else here.
Well, we're going to hear from you, and then we're going to see if there's...
Okay.
Who goes first?
This is a hearing, I have to excuse my voice, on dangerous dogs because we've had a problem with these dogs and Mr. Septon. Mm-hmm. I think you have a report of this. Okay. Sergeant Tossi and I were there after the fact, so you're going to have to hear from Mr. Septon for the facts because none of us were there. And if the owner's here, she earlier said she wasn't coming, but I have no idea if she's here or not. And my point here is we need to do something with the dogs to make sure that everyone else is safe. I'm not asking for the dogs to be destroyed. I just want something put in place so the dogs can't be loose and they're watched at all times. So I think you have to hear from Mrs. Septon and the owner if they're here, and then Officer Tossi, because he did the examination.
And I see that if we do have a finding, you have a recommendation in there, so I may ask you to come back at that point.
Okay.
Mr. Septon, do you want to say anything, or please?
I'm having a little trouble here.
Okay.
Too many amplifiers.
Do you want to tell us what happened?
Okay. I walk my dog around 4 o'clock in the morning, which is a little bit unusual, but it's the only way I could train her to eliminate. And I was walking up the hill where I've always walked for 10 or 12 years, and I noticed a flashlight, or it looked like a flashlight at the top of the hill. And it looked kind of weird at first, you know. I was kidding. I told my dog it was a UFO. And it kept on blinking, and so I kind of, all of a sudden, I kind of knew that there was something going on, and I tried to get my dog off to the left. And the woman, as it turns out, came down with her dogs, and they knocked her to the ground. They pulled her to the ground, and they jumped on me to get at my dog. And I guess I was up and down, but the basic position I was in was on my stomach with my dog on my left, the other two dogs up and down, and I was trying to break my dog away from them. And I remember a couple of times thinking that, calling out, they're trying to kill my dog. And I just kept on pushing and pushing and pushing, and all of a sudden I whacked her free out of her harness, and she ran away. So I said, oh great, now I'll never find her. So I got up, and quite frankly, I was staggering around a little bit, not getting any younger. And I picked up my keys, and I picked up my hat and my clogs and Crocs, and went to go find her. And I was walking down the hill, and I kept on calling her name, and then I got home. I was going to go get the car and look for her, and she was up on the porch on the second floor where I live. So I tried to get her to come with me, and of course she was really hurt. She was bleeding all over the place, as was I, it turns out. So I finally got her into the car, and I remember all of my neighbors said that they heard her scream when I tried to pick her up, and they knew something was wrong. But anyway, I was lucky. I got her into the car, and I drove her to the Westminster Animal Hospital. So this is about 35, 40 minutes after all of this happened. And I got her inside, and the vet came out, and she said, well, we've looked her over, and you saved her life. She's very near death. She's a very small dog. And they said, well, what kind of dogs attacked? And I said, I don't know. I've never seen them. But they seemed like they were little bulldogs, you know. As it turns out, that was pretty accurate. They were, I don't know what you want to call it, but they were rougher than my little girl, you know. So then after I bled all over the veterinarian's hospital, they told me I better go to the hospital. So I went to the emergency ward in Leominster. And 3 hours later, I was discharged. I had 3 stitches on my lower leg here. It didn't hurt. It was near a vessel. It was a vessel or something. So it bled all over the place. It looked like I was dying, and they were sweeping it up all over. And so I get 3 stitches there. I got 1 stitch in either hand, and I counted my bites, and there were probably upwards of 50 bites and my hands were like, my fingernail is still kind of discolored. And my hands were like swollen and almost inoperable for 2 weeks while I took care of her. They said that there was a good chance that both of us would get infections, but we didn't. And as it turns out, I guess we were pretty lucky. I think that's it. How did I sound? Good?
Very good. Very good.
There was no witnesses. It was 4 o'clock in the morning. You know? And first thing I did was I asked her if she needed any help, because they pulled her right to the ground. And I guess there's a gentleman in me somewhere, and I said, do you need any help? And by that time, case closed.
Now, when she fell to the ground, did she let go of the leash? Did she let go of the leash?
Did she?
When she fell down?
Well, she had to, and she grabbed it and tried to pull. I heard her one time say no or stop. But I was so concerned about my dog being eaten alive by these dogs. And, it was just, I don't know what causes that. I think it was just the blood. I think once the blood happened, the instinct kicked in. Because I don't know the dogs from anybody. I don't know what the dogs are like. So
she was totally not in control of her dogs?
No. They knocked her down, and then when I said I'll never get her now, she walked down the street with me a little bit and tried to look into the woods to see if she could find her, and then she disappeared, and I never saw her again. And then after that, a few people asked me if she had called 911 or if she had called me to see how I was doing, but that had never happened.
Now, how far is this from your house?
Well, the whole walk, when I go up from the Lunenburg Housing Authority, I go up, I think it's Broadmeadow, and I go down, I make a loop, and it's about a mile. So I was 10 minutes from my house.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that both of you made it through and that
Yeah,
you're
I'm
both
lucky.
doing
I
better.
mean, I guess I feel good because I saved my dog's life.
How old is your dog?
And she's a pain. I don't know why. So we're gonna have my man over here come, is he
Yes,
next?
please.
Yes.
Sergeant Tossi, could you give us your testimony, please?
Good evening.
Hi.
This is relative to a dog bite incident that happened back in November, as you all have outlined in my detailed report. As an outline, throughout the investigation, this investigation focused mainly on this particular incident. In this investigation, we found out that there were some past incidents with these dogs. Some that Mr. Stepton had reported to us, some that Ms. Como had reported to us, and some that Ms. Thibodeau has outlined to us as well. Based upon the history of those incidents, we have concerns about the dog's demeanor and Ms. Thibodeau's ability to control her dogs. We don't feel that there was any intent to do wrong. We don't feel that this is a breed-specific issue. We just think that these dogs in particular have a history of being aggressive, and that Mrs. Thibodeau wasn't able to properly control the dogs. Under Chapter 140, 157, we're not allowed to request the removal of the dogs from the town because she's a resident. We're not asking for destruction of the dogs. We're simply asking for a determination of the dogs may or may not be dangerous, and if so, that restriction be put upon those dogs in accordance with law. Any questions regarding that?
What was the last thing that you said?
If the dogs were to be determined dangerous, that the restrictions in accordance with 157, requiring harnessing, kenneling, and otherwise control of the dogs, be placed upon the dogs.
Okay, so that she needs to make sure they're in control at all times.
Correct.
And there are specific measures she needs to take that would ensure that
Yes, ma'am.
in order to allow her to keep the dogs.
That is correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
There are, I'm just looking, if the hearing authority, that's us, deem the dog a dangerous dog, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 possible outcomes that are listed in the Mass General 140, and they're in your package.
Okay.
Okay, is the owner, keeper present or a representative?
Mr. Chairman, Jeremy Cohen.
Please.
My law firm is Boston Dog Lawyers. The owner of the dog is here.
Please come forward.
So why don't you tell him what
Please come forward, and I'm going to swear you in. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly and sincerely affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Do you care to tell us what happened or respond to the testimony so far?
Okay, I was coming down the hill just about right near the storm drain in my yard, and out of nowhere with no light, this man came and just like startled me, startled the dog. The dogs got startled, and they took me to my knees. I did not ever let go of the leash, never. I told the man to please, back off, please. Didn't hear me, so he started kind of coming closer, as you would when you can't hear somebody. You come, you tend to, my father did that, come closer. And then a skirmish ensued. I felt terrible. I mean, the man was like right in the middle of it. I mean, I didn't even get a mark on me. I was just trying to pull my dog. He had his knees on the dog's leash. And by the time I got her free, the dog was running. And I put my dogs in the house and I went with the man who had no light. I don't know why. He was way up there with no light at that hour of the night. So I helped him because I had a light, and we were looking for the dog. We couldn't find him, and I said, "Sir, sir," and he just kept walking, and he kind of motioned like this to me. And I kept walking around looking into the bushes and stuff like that, and to see if maybe the dog had run off into the woods, and I could probably see it with my headlamp. But I didn't get any bites, sir. I did skin a knee. This grass was slippery. I believe I had my slippers on, actually, at the time. excuse me. And I came in and I worried and worried and worried about what was going on. I had no way of contacting, never seen him, no way of contacting him, no way of knowing. And I was told that an officer was going to come to my house, and I said fine. But I guess they got busy that night. It was a Monday. And then I was told that on a Tuesday, I believe Officer Tossi was coming on a Monday, and they must have gotten busy. And then Tuesday there was an Officer Brock that was supposed to come and look at Bella, because she got quite a few scars, and her nose was like split, and she was bleeding quite a bit as well. But I didn't take her to the vet or anything like that, because I'm an RN myself, and I figured, well, I'm going to watch her and see, if anything, if she's having limping problems or whatnot or whatever. She seemed fine. And I didn't even know the man. I didn't know that he lived in the elderly complex down the street or anything. But, my concern was, please have a light, number one. Number two, please don't get in the middle of something that we have really no control of. I was a little upset about the fact that I could not get my leash for the dog, Bella. I kept pulling and pulling, and he was like on top of it, on his knees on top of it, like on top of his dog like this. And I was like, please, 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 finally I grabbed it. I finally got it out and brought her in.
Now, the police report says there were 2 dogs, and you had 2 dogs with you, is that correct?
I did.
Okay, and were both dogs involved in this melee?
The other one, it didn't even faze him one bit. He was literally just sitting there like, looking around.
Okay. And you didn't contact the animal control officer or the police, or you didn't take any affirmative action on your own?
No,
part?
I came in and I said, do you think, I should call the police? Do you think that I should probably let them know that something's going on? I was really afraid for the dog. The dog was loose. White Street gets really, people go
and
flying down.
Who did you say that to? Who did you say that?
I said that to my husband.
Oh, okay.
I was really worried about the dog, with White Street being quite a busy street. I never take my dogs down there. Ever, ever, ever.
But you were there that day?
No, I was right in front of my house.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
So your husband advised you not to call the animal control officer or the police?
No, he didn't advise me of anything.
Oh, I said you said you asked him what you should do.
I said, what do you think I should do? Should I call the police? And he's like, well, are you hurt? Is anybody hurt? I'm like, I'm not sure. I really don't know. I hope not. So
I guess why wouldn't you call, just to be sure that he made it home all right and he wasn't?
I probably could have, should have.
Sergeant Tassi, were attempts made to contact the dog owner?
Yes, yes, there were. As outlined, I believe, on the third page of the report.
Can I ask you to just stand a little closer? Thank you.
Oh, you want me to?
No, that's okay.
So my recollection, without reviewing the report in detail, we made phone calls. We attempted to stop by. Officer Barack, who was in the back room, attempted to stop by as well. Numerous phone calls were made, messages were left, they were not returned for a period of time. When we stopped by, Officer Barack stated that he felt like someone was inside through his experience, but he couldn't get anybody to come to the door. So I believe it was several days later before we finally got a return call from Mrs. Thibodeau.
Excuse me, I was just told by the police that a quarantine letter would be left in my mailbox.
That's correct.
But I was waiting, and there was no knock on the door or a phone call. I'm here because I really kind of wanted you guys to look at Bella. I really did.
Okay. As outlined in here, I believe the animal control officer left a slip of paper in her mailbox and regarding the incident. Officer Brock spoke to her, I believe it was by phone, or left a voicemail message. When I did finally speak to Ms. Thibodeau, she reiterated the terms of the quarantine to me to make sure that was, she was adequately informed of that. And in that conversation, I requested to stop by the next day. She wasn't available. I asked to stop by at any point later in the week, and I don't believe I got a response as far as when to stop by.
I said, just let me know. I'm here. And you said, oh yeah, I'm the K-9. I said, oh yeah, well, that's good.
Okay, my recollection of that conversation it differs.
Quite a bit.
There's also a certified letter in the file here that was sent and returned, unable to be delivered. Are you aware of that?
No, I'm not, actually.
Is 54 Broad Meadow the right address?
Yes, it is.
Use the other one.
Mr. Chair, I have a question, and I don't know if it's for the police or for the dog officer in terms of, deeming a dog dangerous. And I guess my question is about sort of a bite versus an attack and how that would be defined, because what people probably don't realize is we have a lot of pictures here, pictures of the wounded dog, and pictures of Mr. Stent, say it correctly, Stepson?
Stepson.
Okay, thank you. And in terms of, I know we hear many stories where somebody's been bitten by a dog. My mother does a lot of walking. She's been bitten by more than one dog as a bite. And this, to me, looks a lot like a really vicious attack just based on the injuries. It's really graphic pictures. And is there some place where, I read through the law where you deem a dog dangerous and whatnot, but where you define sort of the nature of a bite and an attack and what that continuum looks like? Because these pictures are really alarming.
Ms. Adams, I'm not aware of any specific language differentiating between a bite and attack, or what a definition of either would be. I think the best reference for that would be 140, 157.
Okay, thank you. And do we know if either of these dogs have bitten another animal or a human before in terms of the reports prior to this incident?
As far as what's outlined here, the only actual bite incident that I'm aware of regarding another human was Mr. Stepton's incident. I know Ms. Cuomo had another incident in the past, but I don't believe it was a bite. I believe it was the dog jumping on someone causing some injuries.
Okay.
In my conversation with Ms. Thibodeau, she explained a dog-on-dog incident that happened a few years back. I don't have any records or information about that specifically, though.
Okay. I'd like to ask the dog officer, are all three of these dogs licensed and vaccinated? And could you just, I'm sorry, we're on TV, that's why I have to make you do that, Kathy. Are all the licenses and shots up to date and
There's
everything?
2 dogs, not 3.
No,
Well,
but,
the one that got attacked.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So of the 3, are they all licensed? and-
Thibodeau's dogs are not licensed.
They're not.
I got a call from Westminster, the animal hospital, yesterday, telling me that some gentleman was there and I didn't recognize the name, and I said, I don't know who you're talking about, and then they said it was her husband. I didn't know his name. So I said it was her dogs, and they're under a dangerous dog hearing, and I said, yeah, tomorrow night. And she said, are they out of quarantine? I said, yep. And she said, can I vaccinate them? I said, yep, you can. So they were vaccinated yesterday. But she's never had a license in Lunenburg. We've spoken before. She feels that her dogs never go out, so they shouldn't have to be. And I explained to her.
Oh, no, we will. We definitely.
Well, I explained to you why. And rabies is important. And we had an incident a couple of years ago, and Dr. Flingstrom, she had told me she made an appointment when the quarantine was up to go get that done. And it's probably my fault too, because I didn't get to follow up, because he was supposed to call me after she came in and it was over with, and he forgot. And I forgot. And I've never had any problems with the dog since, until this happened. So I'll take responsibility for not following up on that, but town clerk didn't tell me they were unlicensed, so I didn't have really any way of knowing except when that happened. someone was returning her taxes, and the lady called me and said that she was attacked by one of the dogs. That she asked her to wait, and she waited, and she put one dog away, and then she went in and the dog attacked her. She was returning her tax papers.
Oh, so someone else has been...
That was 2 years ago, so...
These same
in this
dogs?
incident, when the hospital called me, I went up there and I recognized the house when I got to the address. You know, 2 years ago, I have so many calls. So I'm there, I know this house. So then I saw Thibodeau, she has a sign that says her name. Then I said, oh my God, same house. She wasn't home. So I left a note in the mailbox to please call me concerning an incident that happened that morning. Because the hospital called me. He didn't call me. He wasn't even going to report it. But I called him, see what happened. And I spoke to Mrs. Thibodeau that night because I went home and went through all my records because I couldn't, I remember the name when she said that, but I didn't know the date. So it was December of 2016, I think it was. December 24th, I think it was. And 22nd. So I had her cell number, so I called her. And she was fine. And I asked her what happened, and she said, you know, I said, why didn't you help him? Well, he could have had a heart attack. She said, I was nervous, and she said, I didn't know what I could do. And then she said, do you think I slept last night? I said, well, I would say not because of what happened. And she said, I'm concerned. I said, me too. I'm concerned about the dogs and the fact that you're ill and that they're too strong for you. That bothers me. I don't want anything to happen to her dog. She loves her dogs, but we got to do some kind of permanent thing here that we know they're going to be safe.
So there have been previous incidents, one incident of one of her dogs attacking a person?
In her house. The lady brought her tax forms back, was asked to wait. She said she waited, and then she said, you can come in now, and the other dog attacked her.
That's actually not true.
Oh.
It was my tax lady, her niece actually let her in right past the beware of the dog sign, which I consider to be an assumed risk. And Chief was a pup, and he jumped and he scratched her. And I felt awful because it was a few days before Christmas and she had a scratch on her forehead, and I was like, oh my goodness.
She told me she had bruised ribs. I mean, I saw a hospital report and they said bruises. They didn't say anything about bites. But I quarantined the dogs at that time too. She said, I'll do it. So I brought the quarantine slips. That's when we made all the arrangements to get the rabies done and then get them licensed. And that fell through. That was 2 years ago. And then this happened.
And then there wasn't any discussion about restraining them at that point?
Oh yeah, I told her she said, I do. I keep them restrained. I said, well, you need to make sure that you do. Keep them restrained. And I've never had another complaint since. The neighbors at that time all came out and they were all nervous because they said they all have to live there, but I haven't had any issues there.
Yeah, no neighbor complaints?
No, just that when they found out about that, they all came out of the woodwork because they have kids, and she said, I keep my dogs to myself, which I think she tries. Because of her physical problems, I think that we have to put something in stone so we know that people are safe.
Because she physically can't restrain the dogs, you mean?
Well, she's got an illness and she has her strength. She doesn't have the strength. If they're going to take off like that, she couldn't, she knocked her down. Doesn't say anything she could do. She was on the ground. I'm not blaming her. I'm just saying we got to do something. I'm a dog lover. I don't want anything to happen to the dogs, but I want something done so we know that they are safe. And that's what the chief expects. And that's all I'm asking, is that we do something permanent that we know that she knows what she has to do and get done. So those dogs are safe and the people are safe.
We picked up a dog watch system for the backyard. And I do not tether the dogs at all. They are not out alone at all. And as far as my physical capability, I am completely fine, and I don't know how that information got out, but I consider that to be a HIPAA violation.
You told me you were ill.
I told you that I had surgery
No. This is
before.
You told me that you were ill, and that your strength was, that you had to be careful with the dogs because of your strength. You told me at the time.
I feel that my strength is okay.
What
God
are the-
willing.
What are the names of the 2 dogs? Because this, would we have to deem each dog dangerous individually? And I feel like that would be one thing we'll have to make sure we
We
have
got
organized.
Bella. What's the other one's
Chief.
name?
Chiefy.
Chief and Bella.
When did you get the dog watch system?
When did we get the... I think it was right when it started getting really cold.
So it
I think
has
right
been
after.
installed then?
Yeah, right after that was it hasn't been installed yet. No, because we have got to get it has to go so they can get in through the back garage door into the house door. It has to actually go across the driveway so that they can't get out into the driveway, but they are able to get into the house door.
Can I just say, dog watch fences are fine for some breeds, but for breeds that are stubborn, like I have English bulldogs, they would never stay behind a fence. They get it once. It's, to me,
You think?
it has to be something more permanent.
You think?
Mine are all fenced in with 6-foot chain link,
You don't like dog watch either?
well, because I've had so many complaints from people in my job in 43 years that the dogs go through it. And then they can't get back in, because they're not gonna come back through the fence. So now they're out loose and harassing everyone. They're afraid to go.
I had a black lab, and it worked most of the time, but sometimes you just take off if
With
you...
dogs like this, we can't take a chance. And I know she loves her dogs, and I understand that. I love my dogs too. But we have to take responsibility for what they can possibly do, and we know what they did to Mr. Septon. And we have the pictures.
Yeah.
I mean, I was mortified when I went to the house and just to look at the dog, what the dog went through. And the reason he got bit, she said he interfered. Well, he laid on top of his dog to save his dog's life.
They were
That's
all
what he did.
on the road, on the street.
They were on the road. And he interfered because he thought they were gonna kill his dog, and he got the worst of it. I mean, she got a lot, but he got it bad too. But until he released his dog and could get that harness off, they were gonna kill her, as far as he was concerned. And dogs in that state of mind, they don't know what they're doing.
Right,
They're not gonna retreat.
right.
I don't think they're bad dogs. They're not bad dogs. They're just a bad situation that needs to be corrected.
The dog officer testified that you had said that you don't let your dogs out, you keep them in the house, or you keep them...
Yeah, we take them
on the
out.
property.
Yeah, we walk them we have a good sized yard.
Okay. So that if the dogs were to be found dangerous and the resolution, one of the possible resolutions is for it to be humanely constrained on your property, that wouldn't be a huge burden, given if that's your normal practice, is that?
Oh, not at all. I would, that would...
Instead of the dog watch, send the dog watch fence back and we'll do something else, because it's just not gonna work.
Yeah.
My question is, you wouldn't see that as a huge burden, because that's the normal situation, right? You normally keep them on your property?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any other questions before we make a finding? Is there anything your representative wants to say?
Appreciate the opportunity, for the most part.
Need to.
Here. Appreciate the opportunity.
I need your name.
Sure.
Name.
Jeremy Cohen, C-O-H-E-N. Part of the reason I come to these hearings is to make sure they're done in a fair way. So, thank you. There's no doubt about it. It's a fair hearing. And just as the animal control officer pointed out, it's not necessarily the dogs. Owners make mistakes. And in our conversations, Suzanne definitely understands she needs to take some more measures to just keep the dogs inside a yard. So a fence, an actual fence, is preferred too.
Physical.
An electric fence is useless. And as far as her not reaching out to the victim, that has nothing to do with the dogs. So it's hard to separate the two, but I appreciate that both officers have spoken about it's a bad situation, and it's not necessarily the dogs, and I think they've given you the information you need.
Thank you.
So was it,
I also think that there should be some kind of insurance policy for
thank you.
so the town knows that we're liability-wise, something ever happens again. He's got $1,400 just in medical bills for the dog.
Wow.
And I mean, I don't know about his own bills for his own hospital, but, I mean, $1,400 is a lot of money.
Why did she get the bills? Why did you have the bills sent to her?
Well, we can. I don't know why he's got the bills.
Okay.
I think we were waiting to see what was gonna happen here.
All right, so any other questions or?
Just to be clear, were both of the dogs involved in the incident, or one?
According to the owner, no, and according to Mrs. Stepton, yes. I wasn't there, so I can't,
It sounds like it was a melee, so it would probably be hard to tell.
pardon me?
Sounds like it was a melee, so it probably would be hard to tell.
Well, they were both there on the dog, both biting the dog, he said, so I don't know. She said that it was only one, but like I said, I wasn't there. Those two are the only ones that can tell us what really happened.
Any other questions? So let us deliberate if we need to, or find whether we believe the dogs or dog are dangerous. Is there a discussion or motion?
So I'd move that we find that both Chief and Bella are indeed dangerous.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that?
I think for the discussion part, again, I would say the photographs are really profound evidence that there was an attack. And then for me, I would just want to know for sure that these were the two parties involved and they both placed themselves there. So we know that these are the groups that were there. I mean, those are the three dogs that were there. This is like I was looking for a definition of, you know, or how to gauge when you, this is clearly more of an attack. I mean, these pictures are very frightening. So I think that in this case, it fits a definition of a dangerous dog, a dog that's capable of this. Even if the dogs were startled, they could be startled by another dog, another walker, another child, and in this situation, looks like is very frightening. And so, yeah, I think it fits the definition of being a dangerous incident.
And I think, just on the side of caution, we just have to assume both dogs were involved. You know, both dogs hang out together. They have the same owner.
That it feels like we can't ever know for sure.
Right, right.
And then once they're deemed dangerous, is it part of a second motion that a recommendation is made, Chair?
Yes.
Okay.
So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so going down the law, there are several possible remedies or next steps, and we can do all or some of them. Just quickly, the dog can be humanely restrained. The dog can be confined to the premises, and there's several more sub-bullets on that. When removed from the premise, the dog needs to be securely and humanely muzzled, and there's some regulations on the tensile strength of any a leash. There's a section on a minimum amount of insurance of $100,000 that must be shown, have proof of insurance. The owner may be required to provide the licensing authority or animal control officer photos, photographs, etc. There's a section on neutering the dogs, etc. Is there any recommendation?
Does the animal control officer have any recommendations? I know the insurance recommendation is a great one.
when Sergeant Tossi and I were going over the reports, and I was with him when he did the investigation too. You know, he said to me, they can order any of this stuff done, but if it isn't all done, if they make one mistake, we could have the same thing again. And that's what the chief's worried about, you know, being in town. So I just figured we'd put down all of them, and then you could decide which ones you thought were most important. And if a fence is put up, it has to be put in the ground. It has to be down underground.
So
Like we had to put ours in, so they can't dig out. I mean, I carry an insurance policy on my dogs for the town, because I'm the animal control officer, and the dogs come to my house, so I have to carry a policy. And when they're taken out in public, I mean, a muzzle isn't mean. You know, if it's safer for them to be muzzled if they're not controllable. But she doesn't seem like she takes them out very often anyway. I think they're home like 90% of the time. I'm trying to be fair, but I also have to.
You have to
Public
protect-
safety is
Right.
is
Yeah,
behind.
that's
You know,
right.
I'm in charge of that, and if something happens, it's my thing.
Well, right, we don't want anyone to be hurt.
Oh,
I don't think her attorney has even seen the pictures. Have you?
No one shared them? No?
Would you like to see them?
Sure.
I think that would be nice to show them the pictures.
But actually, why would it be nice to show me? I already said,
No, but I'm
You
saying
should
that if you're wondering how
they asked you
bad,
for a recommendation and you said, how is this not going to happen again? That's not a recommendation. They're looking to you as the person most knowledgeable in the room right now. Now's your chance to tell them, here's what I think you should do. For instance, put up a fence.
well, I already have.
Put up a sign that says beware of dog. When she walks the dogs off the property, just walk one dog at a time, since there's concern about her strength, apparently. Make sure if she's going to walk a dog off property, it's muzzled. A dig-proof fence and an insurance policy. I mean, if you go down the list, that's 3 or 4 of them right
And that's
there.
what I already did. When I sent my reporting to them, I asked for those things to be done.
I would be inclined to recommend you consider items I, double I, triple I, and IV. I don't believe we need to have, you know, pictures and videos. I think we're aware of these dogs. I think the dog officer is aware of these dogs.
Yep.
I don't believe neutering is essential in this particular case.
They
but
probably already
but the
are.
ones we've talked about are restraining and the
They're already neutered anyway.
particular specifications on fences and muzzling, and it does include a assurance of insurance.
And are the dogs finally licensed yet, or are you still waiting?
No, she's not yet, but
No, we will.
they had their rabies yesterday, so now she can go do that.
Yeah, she was about
Yeah, that should be a condition.
18. And I explained to you, it has to be
Condition
done.
for all
Like if you
dogs
do it
in
now,
town.
you're gonna have to do it again April 1st, because
Yeah.
she's gonna get you for not doing it, so. But every year, it comes out in your census thing. Okay?
So I move that the,
Now, I guess my question would be, what happens if she doesn't follow this?
Well, then she's gonna be back here.
So there's a logical next step?
Yeah.
Okay.
so I move that impose the restrictions, summarize it, but as outlined in numbers 1 through 4 in the animal control officers.
We gotta give her some time to do that. The weather is terrible.
Yes, but
And she's gonna have to just keep the dogs in until they can get done.
correct. So that'd be the dogs be humanely restrained or confined to the premises by a fence. Again, I'm paraphrasing, but item 3, when removed from the premises, they be equipped with a muzzle, and that the owner keep proof of insurance of $100,000 for claims or lost damage of property.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? We will prepare a letter that puts in a date that this has to be done by, and specifically spells out the specifics about what the fence has to be and how deep in the ground and all that kind of stuff. And we'll get that letter to the dog owner as soon as possible.
I just remember the weather. It's going to be difficult to get it done now.
Do we want to put a date on that here? A sign like within X amount of months, especially with the fence part, clearly.
So let's throw 90 days on it. The spring.
What does that put us at for January, February, March, April?
Yeah,
for the
certainly by
fencing
April.
with frozen ground, I don't know. I think we want to put a realistic date, so we're
Right,
not.
so you amend the
90
motion.
days.
Amend the motion to have a 90-day from this evening.
Sure.
All right?
Amend the second.
Second.
Then it'll be thaw. At least we'll have a thaw.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you all for your attention to this.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
you have no opposition to sending.
Sure, thank you very much. Alrighty, our 7:15 appointment is a joint appointment with the Cemetery Commission for the opening on a Cemetery Commission vacancy. Do you have a quorum, Bill?
Yes.
Good.
Bill Tyler, Cemetery Commission Chairman. We met earlier this evening. We're still in session. We recessed and reconvened here. It's our recommendation to appoint Nancy Foss Yasko to fill the slot of the late Lance May until the town elections in May.
Okay. Is Ms. Fossiasco here?
Yes.
I am.
Hi, why don't you come up?
Thank you.
Nice to meet you, and thank you for filling out a talent bank form. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I know. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. I truly appreciate it. And it's my honor to be here, to stand before you and to basically tell you that I'm very excited to be part of this organization as far as to hopefully be with the commissioners and going forward. I'd like to tell you just a little bit about myself, if that's okay.
Please.
And then I'll tell you why I would like to be on this. My first and foremost is my husband and I have been living in this town for 24 years. We are part of the community here. In 2018, my husband and I decided that we wanted to purchase 2 plots at the North Cemetery, for future, not thinking that, again, that it's going to happen tomorrow, but we would like to have do that. So we have vested interest in the cemetery. I have been in several cemeteries, unfortunately. My real father had died in 1985. My mother remarried one husband that died, several years after that from cancer, and then my last stepfather, which just passed away. He's a World War II vet. So being in the different cemeteries and seeing the beauty of some of the cemeteries, I can tell you I am proud to be here in Lunenburg to see the cemetery and how it's run and how the commissioners have, taken upon themselves and prided themselves in making the beauty here. And that's why I would like to be elected for this going forward. What I also have is I was a personal friend of Lance May and his family. His wife and I served at Fitchburg State University on the alumni board. And so knowing the family and knowing how much that he loved it here as far as to go forward, it would be my honor not to step in somebody's shoes, but to be part of that. I am a grad student from Fitchburg State University. I have an MBA. I'm an independent consultant for Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New Jersey, and also the European market. I've created situations and solutions to issues with different like chemo drugs, working across being an advocate for many different industries. So again, is this out of my realm? Yes, but at the same point, I take pride on anything I do, and I am a person that strategically has worked for Fortune 500 companies in the global technology industry. Sorry, I can't talk tonight. As a project and program manager, I'm a marketing consultant and in customer relations. The one thing that I'd like to say is my strengths include the following: integrity and ethical. I'm a problem solver, strategic planner. I'm a leader, a relationship and team builder, an innovator and creative thinker, a effective communicator, and I lead by example, and I motivate and inspire. And I'm hoping with all of us, as far as the commissions working together, that we will all achieve, the best thing for the cemetery going forward. And I thank you for letting me tell you my story as far as who I am and what I'm looking for.
Eloquently expressed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One of the things we usually ask people who are filling an elected position is, do you plan to run for the position at the next election?
Yes.
Okay, I would like to make a motion that we appoint, is it Nancy Vosjasko, for the cemetery opening. And again, I just want to thank Lance and, the openings here for a sad reason, but
yes,
thank you for.
Yes, it's hard, I think, on the family, but I think at the same point, I think, again, not that anybody else couldn't, have stepped into, but I'm happy to help, and like I said, it's my honor to do that for Lance and for this community.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. The way this works is the election until the next election is by a majority of the combined boards, so we'll have 4 of us plus 2 of the current cemetery commissions voting. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Get sworn in?
Yes, you need to stop by the clerk's office and get sworn in as soon as you can before the next meeting.
Okay, I will
right.
do that. Thank you.
Very much.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Okay, our 7:20 appointment is with Nextamp to discuss the pilot for 994 Northfield Road. Do we have a representative of Nextamp? Please come forward. Thank you. And I'd like to mention that I did talk to the town attorney today, and he has not completed his review of the current pilot that's being discussed, so we can listen to your presentation and approve it contingent on his final stamp, if that's appropriate.
Sure.
Okay, great.
Well, good evening, Mr. Chair.
Introduce yourself, please.
And members of the board. My name is Alan Clapp, and I'm a development manager at Nexamp, representing Settlers Solar LLC. I'm a colleague of Chris Clark's, who, unfortunately, my apologies, he's traveling this week and out of state, so I'm here on his behalf. I believe the first issue is the reconsideration of the Chapter 61 issue, the vote to take no action on the notice of first right of refusal. And it's my understanding that he and the landowner, Bill Gussis, made a presentation to you after your vote was taken, and you folks have opened this up to actually reconsider that situation.
Right.
I'm not here to make any new presentation on that information, but I'm happy to answer any questions you may have relative to that action.
Just to kind of bring everybody up to speed, at the meeting, the joint meeting with the Open Space Committee, it was their recommendation that we specifically take no action as opposed to exercise our
Right of first
I guess
refusal.
right of first refusal by saying we didn't want to exercise our right of first refusal. And their rationale for that was not to potentially set a precedent in this particular case, because they felt that we were going to need to do some work on chapter land in the future, not this particular chapter land, but chapter land in general. After that vote was taken and after the Open Space Committee left, the applicant or Nexamp, who were here or wanted to talk to us about the pilot, said, gee, would you reconsider that? And I said that we would put it on tonight's agenda, and if we were going to reconsider it, we'd discuss it and reconsider it this evening. Has anybody given it any thought, or would you like to discuss reconsidering our decision?
Was there any additional correspondence with the open space about that, or?
No, we
their
did.
stance?
We did have a few. The town manager had a few phone calls back and forth with the chair of Open Space. They haven't met since then, and nothing really was resolved one way or the other.
I mean, I think looking back at it, there was definitely a sense that in any future situation, if that had been something we wanted to act on, that our hands are tied and we wouldn't have been able to based on time and whatnot. And I think that was sort of the gesture of taking no action rather than action, because the only action we could take was not to pursue it. So I think I'm comfortable with the no action in the sense that we couldn't have pursued purchasing it based on our timetable. And so to have the default have just been then to say yes, I think the reason Open Space said to leave it as no action, we really didn't have an option to go towards pursuing it in terms of the time. So I think after reflecting on it, I'm comfortable with the letting it expire rather than taking it the only action we could have taken, which was to.
In this particular case, I think we felt that there was no way for us to get an appraisal and do some of the things given the time frame we were given. I think the discussion with the Open Space Committee was we should look hard and proactively at all our chapter land and have discussions with people that are in chapter about their long-term plans and their exit strategies so that in the future we have a longer time frame to deal with it. I think the only reason we're even considering reconsidering is because the Nextamp people did point out that to delay it for the full 90 days that we would well, there's probably about 35 days left, but given the initial notice to us, if we take no action, that won't become effective until the end of a 90-day period, and it would delay Nextamp's ability to begin executing against this pilot, i.e. paying the town taxes and providing a consumer piece of the the solar discount to any of the Lunenburg residents who wanted to participate in the program. I personally feel that the trade-off of 4 to 6 weeks is not valuable enough to go against the wishes of the Open Space Committee, so I prefer not to.
In reality, it's 35 days by now, right?
Right.
And also exiting chapter seems like a serious thing, and then it should be given some pause or reflection because
well, we're not going to exercise it, so it's really, Nextamp could go ahead and start their construction. It's just that they legally don't want to do that until they're sure.
Yeah, if I could add a couple things.
Please.
And excuse me, because I'm not familiar with what Chris did testify to, so I don't want to repeat it.
Fine.
But I believe when we filed at the end of November with the request to release the land from chapter, I believe the town has 30 days to obtain and support an appraisal. And if in fact that doesn't happen, because the intent is not to acquire, or a nonprofit in the community intent is to not acquire, then the entire process is actually, I believe it's 120 days total, which would put things out to March 28th. So I suspect that Chris's request was, if in fact the intent is not to purchase, which I believe is true, and I think our council recommends or tells us in that opinion that essentially that ship has sailed, and after 30 days, you no longer have the right to purchase. So, and I think there's a consensus on that. It's a benefit to Nexamp and the town if we could start a little bit early, if weather allows, instead of waiting till the end of March 28th. Because your building inspector's hands are actually tied and cannot issue a building permit until this process has been completed. And after a vote, essentially a lien waiver, there's a process to do that and get it in the record. So essentially it's a little bit more than that, and puts us into mid-April. And generally we feel, typically weather does allow us to get out there with some early lead items, such as survey layout and putting in erosion controls and maybe some tree clearing, things like that. Again, if weather allows, and we were just really trying to get that opportunity to do so, and hoping we didn't have to wait the entire duration.
And I think Chris made that pretty clear.
Okay,
yeah,
fair enough.
We're not quite clear on exactly what date that all ends on, but we felt pretty strongly that our preference would be to let it lapse as opposed to affirmatively say we're not going to do anything. We understand that we don't have any choice at this point. We can't get it done at this point in time, but we're assuming that we're just going to let it lapse and go with the original 100.
Okay, fair.
In the meantime, as I said, let's talk a little bit about the details of the pilot, but we still have to agree on the pilot. And
correct.
I believe that it's relatively done, but our town council hasn't totally signed off on it yet, and who knows how long that's going to take back and forth with the lawyer.
Okay, fair enough, thank you. Regarding the pilot, again, I believe the document itself in its entirety was generally agreed to, the business terms. And I think what our attorneys and Chris Clark had presented were some minor modifications. I think the size of the project was originally proposed at 5.9 megawatts. It's actually 5.8, just slightly less. So that change trickled throughout the document. It actually changed the payments that were being proposed as well, which has been revised. So there's a financial element to that needs to be checked by your council. Some of the nomenclature, Nexamp LLC was listed in the original document, and it should be Settlers Solar LLC, which is a legal entity that we brought forward as the applicant. This, again, some minor terminology about the documentation, that it's more legalese, quite frankly. I don't want to take your time up to go through those things, because it is town council's opinion that needs to make sure they agree, and our lawyer to concur.
Is the note from Elaine to Adam Costa and his response in your package?
I think I read that, yes. From today, an email?
Yeah. Basically, I asked Elaine to call him and see if he had done his review, and his response was, I'd recommend the board vote to approve the pilot agreement subject to review and approval by council. I'll need to negotiate some of the terms with Settlers Solar.
Okay.
So that's our town council's recommendation.
Okay.
I was just curious if anybody had taken a look at the actual thing and had any questions. We have seen this before in a version that I guess has been changed slightly.
Yes, very slightly.
Mr. Chair, is there room for public comment on this?
Sure.
Dave Pastios, 56 Whiting Street. I again caution the board on approving something that has not been fully vetted. We've already been down this road with the agreements for the property on Gilchrist Street. Had the condition of the boards, specifically the Conservation Commission, not been added at the last minute to that approval, a big hole would have been left in that agreement. I think these agreements should be fully vetted before they're agreed to, even though they do have a condition that, assuming that the review after the fact is, there are no problems. I don't agree with that. There is no rush to do this. They can't even break ground until March 28th. Why do we rush through these things and not have them fully vetted before we approve them? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Mr. Chair, I think I feel the same way in that it's saying approve it subject to Adam Costa, agreeing to it with there being time available. I'd rather Adam review it, fully recommend it, and then we endorse it. That feels like a better order. I think that would be my opinion.
Yeah, I'm not sure that would hurt anything.
I just feel that it, we had it on the agenda. We invited these folks to come tonight to discuss it. I don't know that I'd want to require that they come back again if it's just a little bit of legalese, but I have no problem with us reviewing it again in its totality after council looks at it.
Why not?
Mr. Chair, I think the only thing I could add is I do believe that your council has fully vetted this as far as our attorneys and Adam have gone through the document.
Yeah, I think
it's the financial detail.
Yeah,
that
he took a quick look today and said he had a few items he wanted to talk to your attorneys about. I don't think we're going to find any major issues, but I have no problem delaying it until our next meeting, especially given the fact that we agreed not to reconsider our other action.
Sure. And I mean, we substantively, I don't see any problems with this. It'd just be if the council had any legal recommendations.
Okay. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to move it to the soonest board meeting after our town council agrees to it, and we won't hold it against you if you don't want to be here. If you've all agreed to it all, it'll just be a review and a
It's just a formality at that point.
Right. Okay.
I appreciate that.
Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a question about it. You know, in Exhibit C, the payment in lieu of taxes.
Right.
How do they figure that out?
Go down just a little bit more. It's 7 cents per kilowatt.
$7?
Yeah, $7 per kilowatt, escalating at 2.5% per year. So over 20 years, comes out around $1 million, right? That's my public school math.
It's about what is it, 40 grand a year?
Yeah, it goes up to 64.
Okay.
And 20.
And the whole idea of a pilot, for those at home that that don't know what we're talking about, it's a payment in lieu of taxes, and as opposed to calculating it each year based on a tax rate, it allows the town and the applicant to do their financial planning on a kind of a leveled basis. It doesn't reduce it significantly. It just spreads it out over a 20-year period so that we can both plan on the income and they can plan on the expense on a longer range.
Yes, and it also, if it were to be done in a normal fashion, it would start high and depreciate lower over time rather than following inflation.
Exactly.
I see. And does this revenue just go into the same place all the taxes go into, or is it kept separately?
Yeah, it's tax revenue. It's just
tax
a
revenue.
payment in lieu of in fact, it's even paid quarterly at tax time.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you.
Okay. Alrighty. Thank you very much. Moving on to our 7:30 appointment. It's renewal of the earth removal permits for Keating Company, permits number 14 and 15. Is there somebody here from Keating? On that. Adam Burney, who has a recommendation in your packet, is at a planning board workshop, I'm told, tonight, so he sent his comments ahead. Fine then.
Now, where is this parcel? Where is the quarry?
Okay, good evening. I'm Steve Mullaney from S.J. Mullaney Engineering here on behalf of P.J. Keating Company. The quarry is along the Lancaster Town Line on the westerly side of Fort Pond Road and the southerly side of Leominster Shirley Road.
Right across from all Powell's trucks.
Exactly.
It's where those gigantic trucks cross the road from time to time. The big ones.
They're called ukes.
Oh, is it up on the hill?
No.
Now, as you're approaching the Lancaster Town Line, there's a crossing between the two sides of Keating's property. Yep.
My dad used to drive one of those.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with Adam's recommendation.
No, I'm not.
I think I'm going to read it. It's not that long, and then we'll see if you have a problem with it. This is to the board from Adam Burney. At its meeting of 20 November 2018, the Board of Selectmen requested some additional information on earth removal permits 14 and 15. P.J. Keating Company submitted this material to the Town Manager's Office on 15 January 2019. Building Commissioner Gary Rhodes and I have reviewed the information submitted by S.J. Mullaney Engineering on behalf of P.J. Keating for earth removal permits 14 and 15. This information includes 3 sets of plans, 2 relating to permit 14 and 1 relating to permit 15. Permit 15. This parcel was substantially in compliance with the conditions of the permit as issued in August of 2017. The one outstanding issue was an encroachment of the work area into the 250-foot buffer zone required between the area to be excavated and the Reservoir Road. Much of the disturbance to this area was not recent, and some of the area has been reclaimed naturally. The outstanding issue was how does P.J. Keating Company plan to restore this area and prevent, future disturbance of the required buffer zone. The plan submitted indicates procedures for the spreading of loam and seeding for the areas that remain to be revegetated. Furthermore, there is a proposal to install signage within the property along 250-foot line to indicate the limit of work area. Recommendation. It is the recommendation of myself and the building inspector that the Board of Selectmen accept the submission as reasonable measures to close, reclaim the disturbed area, and identify the limit of work, and renew the permit through August 31, 2019. Now, do you have a problem with that?
No problem at all.
Anybody have any questions or comments? You want to take them one at a time? Can I get a motion to?
Sure, I move that we follow the planning director's recommendation for permit number 15, as you just read.
Thank you.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Permit 14. It was determined that there was some work done on this parcel that was in violation of the conditions of the permit. Nonetheless, the Board of Selectmen was willing to entertain some modification to these conditions with the submission of additional information indicating the long-term development plans, closure plan, and post-closure use. It appears that the submission provides the information requested. However, there are some items that require a bit more review and research prior to the submission of a recommendation from this office. Recommendation. I, in conjunction with the building commissioner, request that this item be continued for 1 month until 19 February 2019 to allow us to provide a recommendation that properly reflects the information submitted. So that would actually require us extending, I believe, the permit for a month. And you okay with that?
Certainly.
So I'd move that we, in alignment with the recommendation of planning director, move we continue this and extend the permit to 19 February 2019.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you for your time this evening.
So
See you
now
on the 19th of February.
How deep is that quarry?
How deep is that quarry? It's several hundred feet deep, and the proposal is actually to end up being about more than 250 feet below the road level of Fort Pond Road, which it already is existing in the Lancaster side.
Wow. Doesn't it mess with the water table if it's that low?
No, it's actually, it's all rock, so the water table is not interfered with. We have monitoring wells positioned in 4 locations around the quarry to demonstrate that it's not causing any breach of any aquifers or any runoff into the quarry other than natural rainwater.
Geologically, what kind of rock is it? Do you know?
I'm not the expert on the rock, but I can get back to you on that.
Love rocks.
They have North American Reserve from New Hampshire are the geologists that have been handling the quarry for many years. I'll see if I can get some information.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mine out, let's get later.
Okay, fine. We have no interviews, appointments, or reappointments other than the one we did. We have no town manager report. There is a town manager report in your package, I believe. Maybe it isn't. I don't know.
I can see it, but
Okay, it may not be there. I know there was a draft, but I don't think she submitted it. Okay, our current business. According to the charter, the town manager needs to present actually deliver the capital plan to us by the end of January. There is a spreadsheet in your package. However, there's a presentation that goes with it, and in the absence of the town manager, I'm going to make a recommendation. Thursday evening, the town manager is presenting the five-year financial forecast and the capital plan to the Finance Committee. And if I have posted a meeting for us in case we are available, if a quorum of us cares to attend the Finance Committee, it can be an official meeting of the Board of Selectmen. If not, I would encourage you to watch it either at home or on YouTube, and we can discuss it in February when the town manager returns. But I would like to declare that the town manager did meet her charter obligation to present that. Mr. McQuaid is the chair of the Capital Planning Committee, so we have a lot of background, but I just feel it's better to do that in the context of the whole presentation as opposed to just take it offline, given that we're only waiting a short period and it's still considerable amount of time before the budget goes forward. Is there any objection to that?
I guess I would like us to move it forward next year so that we don't run into this, because, you know, if presenting it in January, when you leave it to the last week in meeting in January, that's what happens. I would like it to be earlier.
Especially with weather and whatnot, too. In this case, it was travel, but.
I would defer to the chair of the Capital Planning Committee, but I know what they have to go through to get to this point.
Yeah, and it's a certain amount of, she has to wait a certain amount of time to get all the budget certified, so we know what we're working with to prioritize it, and that has its own timeline that she can't really control either, so, I mean, it's a date that's in the charter, but it's still an arbitrary, a date.
But can't the process start earlier? How early does the process start?
Well, the process starts in September. We start coming up with how we want the information presented to us. We get the kind of the format out to the department heads, and they return it to us in about November time frame. They come to meet with us individually, and usually early December we start to prioritize the requests, but she can't certify the actual budget until I think the beginning of January. So that's something that's to be done before we can make the final prioritization.
We have to set the tax rate. We have to find out about the free cash. We have to find out what the first pass, at least, of the state budget is, even though that will change.
On our agenda tonight, so the intent was to be in the deadline, right? So, I mean, we are on target other than an unforeseen circumstance. Would she be able to just present it on the meeting of February 5th? Because I know they reached out for us to come on Thursday. I likely can't make it to this Thursday's Finance Committee meeting, but maybe she can give us a synopsis for us and for the sake of anybody who tunes in. And just add it back on the agenda for February 5th.
Absolutely.
We just finalized our prioritization last week, so it's not like she's been sitting on it.
No, I don't mean that she's been sitting. I'm just saying moving the whole ship back.
But then you almost have to start in August or July.
No, he said September, they get together, and
in reality, Phyllis,
they leave it,
in reality, next year's capital plan is already written, and the one after and the one after that, but they do fine-tune it every year.
Right.
I mean, it's a 10-year plan, so we know right now what the next 10 years of capital requests are, but they'll change.
Process that's always feeding into
so we could do it earlier then.
Yeah, but we can't get that final prioritization until we have the numbers.
Right.
Yeah, but you said that's early January, right? The final prioritization. I don't know. I just feel like even if you could move it 2 weeks ahead, we wouldn't be in this position.
I think it feels like it's moving along. There's a lot of content here, and I feel like it's moving along. We just have Heather couldn't make it. And
Right.
I mean, if we could be in a situation where we're down to 4, where the stomach bug hits and we're not here and we can't hear it.
I think it's the earliest I've seen the capital be ready.
Yeah, and I think, honestly...
If it's supposed to be in the charter, it's supposed to be presented in January?
But it was
But we never have before.
No, it hasn't.
I
think Heather picked up on that during charter review this year. I don't think it's been followed.
I know when I was chairing capital planning, we had it in time for the department budget meetings, which is more February, March.
Right.
Because we didn't realize that we had to do it for January.
So I think this is
we can
early.
all tune in on Thursday, which would help us anyways, and then maybe she can recap it on February
Well, she was
5th.
planning on doing the presentation tonight, so we'll just put it on the agenda for the first meeting in February.
Sounds good.
Okay, but I'd really like us to move it back a couple weeks.
Heard you.
Thank you.
So we have a meeting posted for Thursday that I will now unpost, or
I say you could leave
maybe
it.
I'll leave it posted if anybody shows up.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to leave it posted.
It's already brewing in the back of my mind, and maybe
All
just
right.
get a babysitter.
Okay, I have minutes for December 4th. And warrants. An accounts payable warrant for $574,700. $728.47. A payroll deduction warrant in the amount of $168,441.68. And a payroll warrant in the amount of $777,317.42. Are there any action file issues?
Yes, I have one. When, in our recent joint meeting with the school committee, it was discussed that they feel in 8 years, the town will need to either invest in a renovation of Turkey Hill Elementary or undertake building a new school to replace Turkey Hill. Armed with this forecast, now is the time to tighten our belts and begin to lower the annual tax increase burden, so that in 8 years, when we're asking the town for yet another debt exclusion on top of the $50 million our debt has now gone up to, we can say, we knew this was coming, we did our best to prepare, and we raised taxes by 2% annually, not 2.5%. And we've essentially eliminated 1 year's tax increase burden by doing that. It's a puzzle to me that the town seems to insist we have to raise taxes 2.5% each year, yet the town takes no steps to look for ways to generate revenue outside of raising taxes. The fees, which no one seems to know the last time they were raised, but prior to 1995, are a perfect example. So's the e-permitting software that the town just adopted, and as you all know, rather than using simple cost accounting and raising permits to cover costs, the town decided to absorb half of the $30,000 to $40,000 increase. Another place we don't look is at forecasting. Excise revenue every year far exceeds our estimate. That's imprecise estimating. We should look at the town's forecasting history. In areas where we historically forecast much lower revenue than is actually gained, we should increase the estimated revenue so we have money to put into the budget. I propose we take a much harder look at the budget, revenue, and expenses and see if the town can sharpen its pencil. And I suggest that the town manager prepare 2 budgets, one assuming a 2% increase and one assuming a 2.5% increase.
Any other action file issues?
Just with our last meeting with the historic folks, I'll summarize them. Do we want to try to follow any of their recommendations for the Brooks House before this town meeting, or do we want to wait and just hear from everybody first, or just kind of a question for everyone? It seemed Heather would have to weigh on this, and whether it's realistic to formulate something before town meeting or not, as far as allowing us to do an RFP for the Brooks House, but just something to see whether it would fit on the radar or not.
Okay. Let's put that on the agenda and deal with this, next meeting. Any others? Committee reports.
I don't have any.
I attended the Mass Municipal Annual Meeting last Friday and Saturday. Speakers included Governor Baker, Lieutenant Governor Polito, Senators Elizabeth Warren, Senator Ed Markey, and Boston Mayor Marty Walsh. It was a great event. I attended several interesting and informative workshops, and I'll be bringing some ideas proposed forward in the coming weeks.
Great. Right. There is the Animal Control Officer's report in your package. If there's any questions, we can follow up at the next meeting. Let's see. Our upcoming schedule, tonight is our last meeting in January unless we meet Thursday night. If we do meet Thursday night, the only agenda item is to hear and perhaps deliberate on the 5-year financial forecast and the capital plan recommendation. Other than that, we will meet in February on the 5th, 12th, and 19th. Is there any public comment from the public?
in the interest, Dave Passios, 56 Whiting Street, in the interest of not dragging on the Keating's discussion earlier, I chose to wait till public comment now. Something that's always been in the back of my mind, actually since I was a kid growing up, that quarry on Fort Pond Road, Lancaster Ave, that corner there, has been active pretty much all my life, and I'm not sure when that quarry is expected to run out and have a closure plan to it. My concern has always been, and even more today, as we hear of tragedies in other abandoned quarries, that this quarry may be the same type of a problematic area that other towns are struggling with. And we hear of drownings and injuries from people jumping off of ledges in abandoned quarries, and I hope there's a way to mitigate that. I'm actually going to have a conversation with the land use director. I think he can answer the question probably better than any of us here. I just plant the seed that I'm very concerned down the road. It's an active quarry now. We could still have an accident there, but it's usually more when they're abandoned. Thank you.
Public comment from the board. I just feel the need to say I think PJ Keating has been a great asset to the town, and I would expect that they would meet all their obligations in a closure, and I'm sure that you feel the same way, and we'll make sure that we pay attention, but it's a good heads up, and we don't assume they're going to abandon it without a closure plan.
Right, I totally agree.
Okay, thank you. I believe that's it for this evening.
I move we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.